Hey guys, we are going to start chapter 5 today, which is on geometry. Okay, so it's a rather lengthy chapter. It'll probably pretty much take us to the end of the year working on this. So we're going to start out with proportions. Now, I am fairly positive that we have solved proportions before, so this should be just mostly a review. A proportion is something that would set two ratios or fractions equal to each other. Okay, so for example, a ratio or a proportion could be 1/2 equals 4/8. Okay, that's a proportion. It's two ratios that are equal to each other. So if one of these numbers, say we didn't know this number, okay, and it was missing, to solve to figure out what that number needs to be, you're going to cross multiply. There are so many times I hear kids use cross multiply incorrectly. Cross multiply is used when there's an equal sign between two fractions. So you have a proportion. You do not cross multiply when you are multiplying. Okay? So cross multiplying is used to solve for a missing part in a proportion, or it's used to check proportionality. What I mean by that, I have 1/2 equals 4/8. There's no missing parts. However, I can cross multiply 1 times 8 and 4 times 2, and that tells me that those are proportional because 8 is equal to 8. Okay, if I had 1/2 equals 2/8 and I checked that, that's not proportional. 1/2 does not equal 2/8 because their cross products do not equal each other. Okay, we're not really going to be using it that way too much. We're going to be using it to solve for a missing part. Okay, so pretty much what I showed you up here, if you have A over B equals C over D, you're going to cross multiply. So you're going to do A times D and C times B. Okay, A times D is going to be equal to B times C. Okay, let's do some examples. Now, I couldn't write these nicely in PowerPoint, so let me rewrite them. Okay, that's how it'll look like in GMM. And you have to figure out, well, what is y so that this is a proportion. Okay, we're trying to figure out what number y has to be to make this a proportion. Now, sometimes they will be whole number answers, like in the top two, and sometimes they're going to be fractions, like in the bottom two. When they're whole number answers, they're actually a little bit more simple because you can just use equivalent fractions. So if you noticed that 12 times 3 is 36, you could just do 3 times 3 to get that y is equal to 9. Okay? However, if you did not think to do it that way, you can do the way that we're going to use in general. So we're going to use the cross products. We're going to do 3 times 36, which gives you 108. Actually, I want to put that underneath, sorry. Okay, so 3 times 36 gives you 108, and y times 12 gives you 12y. Those are still equal to each other. Now we're just solving a one-step equation. So you're going to divide both sides by y, and you're going to get that 12 is equal to 9. 108 over 12, or divided by 12, is 9, which is the same thing we got before. Okay, let's try this one. So v over 12 is equal to 8 over 4. All right, 8 is doubled of 4, or 4 is half of 8, whichever way you want to think about it. So this number up here has to be 24 in order for it to also work with that same pattern. Okay, another way you could have thought of it, you have to do 4 times 3 to get to 12, so you would have to do 8 times 3 to get 24. We're going to use cross multiplying though. So v times 4 gives me 4v. 8 times 12 gives me 96. One-step equation. I'm going to solve by dividing both sides by 4. I don't know why it's not writing. go. All right, so when you do 96 divided by 4, you are going to get 24. This is not writing very well. Okay, 2 more. Like I said, these ones are not going to work out to be whole numbers. They're actually going to be fractions. Okay, here is an option for you. You can simplify the fraction as much as you want before you start, and that might be a little bit easier so you're not multiplying by as big of numbers. Okay, it's totally up to you, it doesn't matter. So one simple thing that I might say is I might divide both of these by 10. And that just gets rid of my zeros. Okay, you could take it a step further and divide those both by 4, which would make it 3/4. Okay, you can do that and that's fine. Let's go ahead and do that just to show you that you can. So if I wanted to simplify 12 over 16, I could divide those both by 4 and get 3/4. And cross multiply, so I'm going to do 3 times p and 11 times 4. Okay, it's a one-step equation, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Like I said, this is going to work out to be a fraction. So I'm going to simplify 44 over 3. I'm going to make that a mixed number. Okay, so I have to figure out how many times, oops, not 43. I have to figure out how many times 3 goes into 44. Okay. Sorry. All right, so 3 goes into 44 14 times with 2 left over. 14 2/3. If you would not have simplified in the beginning, you would have cross multiplied. You would have got 120p. And 160 times 11 is 1760. And you would have had to divide both sides by 120. Like I said, you can do it that way. It's just going to be bigger numbers. It's going to be a little bit more difficult multiplication and division. Totally fine that you'll get the same answer. You'll still get 14 2/3 once you simplify it. It's totally up to you. All right, so last one, v over 3 equals 600 over 350. Again, I prefer to simplify first, just to make my numbers as small as I can. So I'm going to divide those both by 10, and then I can go ahead and divide them both by 5. Okay, so 60 divided by 5 is going to give me 12. 35 divided by 5 is going to give me 7. Right now, everything's a little bit smaller and easier to work with. So v times 7 is 7v. 3 times 12 is 36. Sorry. Divide both sides by 7. That's a 6. So v is going to be, now 7 goes into 36 5 times with 1 left over. All right. Okay. So again, those last two are going to be the ones that might be a little bit more difficult just because they are going to have fractions as your answers. The top ones really should not be bad. They should all be whole number answers. Make sure you are comfortable with changing from an improper fraction to a mixed number. If you can't do it in your head, you can always do the division. Okay. And then it's 5 and 1/7. All right. If you need any help at all, please let me know, and good luck.